Ewe Bwana Mungu wangu, wasaidie wapendwa wako kuwa imara katika makusudio yako. Uwape neema yako kupinga mashambulio ya tamaa, wafuate nuru ya mwongozo wa mbinguni. Wewe umwenye nguvu, mwenye neema, ulioko kwa nguvu yako, mwenyewe mpaji mpole,
O my God, O my God, verily I invoke thee and supplicate thy threshold, asking thee that all thy mercies may descend upon these souls. Specialize them for thy favor and thy truth. O Lord, unite and bind together the hearts, join in accord all the souls, and exhilarate the spirits through the signs of thy sanctity and oneness. O Lord, make these faces radiant through the light of thy oneness. Strengthen the loins of thy servants in the service of thy kingdom. O Lord, thou possessor of infinite mercy, O Lord of forgiveness and pardon, forgive our sins, pardon our shortcomings, and cause us to turn to the kingdom of thy clemency, invoking the kingdom of might and power, humble at thy shrine and submissive before the glory of thine evidences. O Lord God, make us as waves of the sea, as flowers of the garden, united, agreed through the bounties of thy love. O Lord, dilate the breasts through the signs of thy oneness, and make all mankind as stars shining from the same height of glory, as perfect fruits growing upon thy tree of life. Verily, thou art the Almighty, the self-subsistent, the giver, the forgiving, the pardoner, the omniscient, the one Creator.
Thou seest, O my God, how thy loved ones have been encompassed by the rebellious amongst thy creature, and the wicked amidst thy people. No land remaineth, but the lamentation of thy lovers, and the wailing of thy chosen ones were lifted up therein. I beseech thee, by thy most great name, to draw forth the hand of power from the bosom of thy might, and to assist therewith all them that love thee. Thou beholdest, O my God, their eyes turned towards thee, their gaze fixed upon the dayspring of thy might and thy loving providence. Transmute, O my Lord, their abasement into glory, their poverty into wealth, and their weakness into a strength born of thee. Powerful art thou to do whatsoever thou willest. No God is there but thee, the all-knowing, the all-informed.
Bwana, sisi tu watu wa kuhurumiwa, utujalie fadhili yako. Tu maskini, utupe fungu kutoka bahari ya utajiri wako. Tu wahitaji, ututosheleze. Tumetweza, utupe unafuu wako. Ndege wa anga na wanyama wa kondeni hupokea chakula chao kila siku kutoka kwako, na viumbe vyote hushiriki katika ulinzi wako na wema wako wa upendo. Usimnyime mnyonge huyu neema yako ya ajabu, na ujalie kwa uwezo wako roho hii dhaifu baraka yako. Utupe mkate wetu wa kila siku, na ujalie nyongeza yako katika mahitaji ya maisha, ili tusiweze kumtegemea yeyote ila wewe. Tuweze kuzungumza hasa nawe, tuweze kutembea katika njia zako na kutangaza siri zako. Wewe Mwenyezi Mungu na mpenda na mruzuku wa binadamu wote.
Exalted, immensely exalted, is he who has removed differences and established harmony. Glorified, infinitely glorified, is he who has caused discord to cease and decreed solidarity and unity. Praised be God. The pen of the Most High has lifted distinctions from between his servants and handmaids, and through his consummate favors and all-encompassing mercy has conferred upon all a station and rank of the same plane. He has broken the back of vain imaginings with the sword of utterance, and has obliterated the peril of idle fancies through the pervasive power of his might.
Ponder then in thine heart matters being such as thou dost witness, and as we also witness. Where canst thou flee, and with whom shalt thou take refuge? And to whom wilt thou turn thy gaze? In what land shalt thou dwell, and upon what seat shalt thou abide? In what path shalt thou tread, and at what tower wilt thou find repose? What shall become of thee in the end? Where shalt thou secure the cord of thy faith, and fasten the tie of thine obedience? By him who revealeth himself in his oneness, and whose own self beareth witness to his unity. Should there be ignited in thy heart the burning brand of the love of God, thou wilt seek neither rest nor composure, neither laughter nor repose, but wilt hasten to scale the highest summits in the realms of divine nearness, sanctity, and beauty.
E Bwana wangu, fanya uzuri wako kuwa chakula changu na furaha. E Bwana wangu, fanya uzuri wako kuwa chakula changu na furaha. Kweli wewe, wewe ndiwe mtukufu wa Mungu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu.
Kweli wewe,
wewe ndiwe mtukufu
wa Mungu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu.
Roho makao na
mahali pangu, bao la chumba cha makao yangu.
Roho makao na mahali pangu,
bao la chumba
wa Mungu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu.
kweli wewe,
Kweli wewe ndiwe mtukufu
wa Mungu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu.
rudisha dhamana nafsi moyo wangu, wewe ni mweza unithibitishe, rudisha dhamana nafsi moyo wangu, wewe ni mweza unithibitishe, kweli wewe,
Kweli wewe ndiwe mtukufu
wa Mungu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu.
kweli wewe,
Kweli wewe ndiwe mtukufu
wa Mungu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu.
bao la umba ndani moyo wangu, nuru kubwa na mwanga wa kushinda, bao la umba ndani moyo wangu, nuru kubwa na mwanga wa
kushinda.
kweli, kweli wewe,
wewe ndiwe mtukufu
wa Mungu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu.
kweli wewe,
Kweli
wewe ndiwe mtukufu wa Mungu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu.
kweli wewe,
Wewe ndiwe mtukufu
wa Mungu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu.
kweli wewe,
Kweli wewe ndiwe mtukufu
wa Mungu,
wa ulimwengu,
wa ulimwengu, wa ulimwengu.
Alaba friends. Alaba. Are you happy? You look very bright this morning. I hope we all had a wonderful rest and are ready for day 3. So before we move on to day 3, we thought that it would be good to have a few recap about yesterday. We started our day yesterday. It was a very interesting day on teaching, and we had a lot of experiences from yourselves regarding how you are spreading the revelation of Baha'u'llah in your respective countries and communities. And we also heard how we are beginning to discern when the city of the heart of man is ready to be open, but then really to help them to cross that threshold. And from the experiences, we are very delighted to hear that the continent or our zone in Africa is definitely making strides. Of course, we also saw that some of us, our numbers were declining. And this could be related to the ability of each one of us to capture this. But then, what is central to the teaching process? I think that's what we will be talking about today, the Training Institute. Because if you think in terms of Book 2, it helps to raise our capacity to be able to have meaningful conversations, follow up with those deepening themes when we are doing home visits in the communities. And of course then, when we move to book 4, again, we are enabled to understand in depth the life of the manifestations of God, the twin manifestations of God, and enable the friends to be able to relate with the life of the Bab and the life of Baha'u'llah. And from their lives, the concept of crisis and victory is very manifest. And so then when we face challenges in our own communities in regard to teaching, we draw strength from the life of Baha'u'llah and how he was able to conquer whatever came across his way. And then in the second session of the day, which was session 4 yesterday, we also looked at the social action endeavors, and it was very exciting. Personally, I was really surprised at how much we are doing. And from the conversations that we had, we've seen how we are interacting with the different organizations in our communities, how we are reaching out to schools, how we are interacting with the local leaders, how we are interacting within the families, and how groups of women, groups of children, groups of different categories are beginning to apply the creative word into whatever they are doing. So again, the role of the Training Institute is very critical to this, because whatever endeavor we are undertaking, how central is the Training Institute to that conversation? Because if you start a conversation at the level of the village, and then you're doing, many of us were talking about groups of agriculture, groups of a lot of community-based initiatives that you're exploring. But to have this spiritual foundation is very critical to the success of those groups. So again, those explorations were very important. So today, to connect to that, we felt that we would go a little bit deeper into the role of the Training Institute at the heart of the community's progress. And our conversations today will focus on paragraphs 6 and 7 of the 31st December 2025 message. I'm sure we are becoming more and more clear with these respective paragraphs, but maybe just to draw a little bit from paragraph 6. What does the beloved House of Justice say? At the heart of a community's progress, of course, is the institute process. So we would love to hear that. How is the Training Institute at the heart of whatever we are doing? Whether it's teaching, whether it's community-based initiatives, whatever undertaking is unfolding in our communities. And the House of Justice says, so long as the capacity to work with large numbers in a cluster is still being built, it's natural for the efforts of the Institute to be focused almost exclusively on raising up human resources that can carry out specific acts of service. We have training institutes in the East African zone, and these training institutes are at different levels within the continuum of their development. We have training institutes that are at the initial capacity level, and these training institutes have not yet managed to be able to develop a very big number of human resources. And then there are those that we call the medium capacity training institutes. These are more or less on their way to becoming advanced capacity institutes. And with advanced capacity institutes, of course, we see a large number of human resources. But the thing is, how are these human resources coming into the Training Institute every cycle? So then they are not coming in drips. And that's where the difference between the most advanced capacity institute and that institute that is on its way. With the most advanced capacity institute, they ensure that the entries into the institute and the progression are continuous every 3 months. And the beloved House of Justice says, but over time, after the third milestone has been passed and particular centers of intense activity have gained strength, the Institute will also devote more serious thought to the systematic and effective delivery of the programs it offers from childhood to adulthood, and the propagation of these programs in other parts of the cluster. So again, even from listening to you describing your teaching endeavors, you see you have centers of intense activity. But then these centers of intense activity begin to expand. And the more they expand, definitely the training institute is central to that. So then how are these how are these centers of intense activity continuously advancing? And then of course it says here, as the people come to witness the effect of the Word of God in their lives and understand the Institute is the means through which more and more people are learning to apply the Word of God in their lives, they begin to see the Institute as a powerful instrument that is theirs. As we begin to spread to more and more centers of intense activity, we begin to see that more and more people are associating with the revelation of Baha'u'llah, and they begin to apply it in their daily lives. You begin to see communities that are waking up in the morning, early morning, to begin their day by reciting the verses of God. We are mindful of the teachings of Baha'u'llah that turning to him for obligatory prayer is a requirement of a life that is lived coherently. We are mindful of the capacity to be able to read directly from the creative word. Even just by doing book 1, you know, the first quotation, the betterment of the world can be accomplished through pure and goodly deeds, through commendable and seemly conduct. We begin on a daily basis to reflect, how has my day been? How am I contributing to the betterment of my fellow man? And then, of course, the Institute programs are beginning to influence the life of the population. When we learn to raise up more and more human resources that can carry out specific acts of service and extend the reach and impact of the programs. From the message of the House of Justice, you know, when we become very advanced, then we are thinking in terms of for example, the spiritual education of children. The children are not just entering into grade 1 and stopping there. Again, we all know this path that we've walked through. You know, the children classes are revolving around grade 1. There are stories from some of the clusters where the children master grade 1 so well, even better than the teacher. So when the teacher is trying to teach the children, you know, the children are already saying, teacher, we know that story about Abdu'l-Baha. Teacher, we know that quotation. And eventually the teacher will disappear from the cluster, from the class. So we don't want situations like that. When we become advanced, then definitely the progression of children from grade to grade. We now have the branch courses. Branch course to branch course, grade 3, grade 4, grade 5. So we begin to see this unfolding at the level of centers of intense activity. We become more and more systematic. We begin to see the junior youth groups advancing, not breezes of confirmation for 3 years. So again, you begin to see they are doing more and more of the junior youth texts. And some of them are covering 5, 10, or all the texts now of the junior youth groups. So then we would love to hear from yourselves. But then also, the older friends are advancing more and more. Because then, if you think in terms of a training institute, sometimes you find that the majority of the study circles are book 1. For people to advance to book 2 becomes a challenge. Yesterday when we were talking about teaching, we could see that many of us, we have not advanced up to book 6. And what is the challenge of that? Because the Training Institute has not mastered that capacity to be able to assist more and more people to advance through a sizable number of the texts. So how is the Training Institute making that possible? It keeps going. It's on and off. Okay. And then we also think in terms of this one is much heavier. maybe to do the job better. So where this, we're talking about the capacity to raise human resources, where this capacity has been built within the center of intense activity, the Institute devotes more serious thought to the systematic and effective delivery of the programs it offers from childhood to childhood. And then there is a need to create systems for the propagation of the educational programs in other parts of the cluster. So when this center of intense activity becomes very vibrant, it's learned how to assist populations to progress through the designated materials for that age group, then definitely we are able to spread out to other parts of the cluster. And that's how prevalence comes within the cluster. The role that the youth and mothers, we know, again, in our communities, the role that this population plays is very critical. We hear most of our teachers are young people, but now also we are beginning to see many of the young mothers in particular are rising to give much of their precious time to helping intensify activities in neighborhoods and villages. And sometimes they even are encouraged to settle within those locations. Again, it would be good to hear from yourselves examples of this from many of your clusters. How are we dealing with the youth? How are we supporting this age group? What are the nature of the conversations that we are having with the youth to help them to arise, to advance the revelation of Baha'u'llah? And then, of course, the institutions are providing these friends with various types of support as necessary to help them in their efforts. What are you doing as institutions, as the regional Baha'i councils, as the local speech assemblies, as the auxiliary board members, to ensure that these people are doing their best? What is the nature of the support that we are giving? We are appreciative as institutions in the effort to live a coherent life of service, because then we don't want these young people to just focus on the institute activities and forget to advance their academic life. How are we assisting them to acquire skill, to be able to live a more coherent life? So at some point your service as a coordinator comes to an end. How are you going to continue to live and really continue to support the processes that are unfolding in our neighborhoods? And then, of course, how do we help youth arrange their service in a way that is responsive both to the needs of the community and their own unique circumstances? We know a majority, I don't know which community, doesn't have a sizable population of the young people. Even when we talk about young mothers, even young mothers are youth. Sometimes we forget that young mothers are not youth. We just treat them and say young mothers, young mothers. But young mothers are youth, and this is the prime of their lives. How are we ensuring that they live a coherent way? I wanted also to draw from paragraph 7 of the House of Justice. The beloved House of Justice says that we have noted the benefit that comes from raising awareness in the wider society of the educational value of the Institute's programs. This has involved efforts to reach out to the parents and relatives of children and junior youth, and also to officials and senior educators with whom Baha'is are interacting. Again, the Institute has learned to do this. We have come out of that obscurity. We are now really being seen as an educational entity within our community. So we are beginning to interact with like-minded organizations. We are not shy about what we are talking about. We've learned how to balance our conversations between the spiritual and the material. And people are more and more attracted to the Training Institute courses, more and more attracted to the materials that the Baha'i community is offering. So how are we doing this in our communities? What is the benefit of creating this awareness within the wider society about the educational value of the Institute's programs. Because we know if we raise a human being and they are so focused, however good we are in science or the arts, but the spiritual foundation is weak, we know the impact of that. We know the results of that. So again, how are we nurturing this awareness, this consciousness within our communities? Such awareness can strengthen support and open new avenues for collaboration. We've heard of how schools are welcoming the program. We know many of the schools, not just Baha'i schools, are very keen on ensuring this. We know the role that the junior youth materials, for example, contribute to raising and unlocking the capacity of young people, and they begin to excel in their schoolwork. So how do we ensure this is unfolding? How are we drawing on the support of the parents, families, officials, senior educators to broaden the support given to the training institutes? Because the engagement helps to embed the programs more deeply into the life of the community. How many parents and families are supportive of these efforts? When we have our camps, what is the role of the families? When we have festivals, how are the families at the forefront of supporting this? What is the role of the local leaders, for example? How are the officials and supporting these processes? We've heard of stories of how villages are collaborating, even the religions, the churches, the mosques. We've heard of trainings happening in mosques, happening in churches. And at the forefront, the church leaders are saying this is very beneficial, because when the youth, our youth, go through your programs, then definitely they are able to become better youth. How are we nurturing that collaboration? But also the role of the local spiritual assemblies, and of course us as individuals, in remaining open to collaboration while being vigilant to avoid becoming entangled in politics. Again, these packages come in different ways. I know of so many stories where it begins very nicely, but at the end of it, somebody has another intention. So how do we discern this so then we don't find ourselves entangled in political struggles? People, we are all, where I come from, we are coming from an electoral climate right now. It was very hot. But you know, people are offering so many things. Oh, we will give this, we can offer that for this training, we can. Suddenly the relationship has gone a little bit beyond what it normally is. How are you able to discern that? How are you able to see that probably this needs to be checked? How are we raising the capacity of our local spiritual assemblies to be able to discern that? So then they safeguard the integrity of the process, but at the same time foster unity and purpose. So not to say politicians are bad. Again, that's not the approach. But then how do we infuse the revelation of Baha'u'llah into the endeavors that these people are undertaking without them luring us, but the other way around, by us helping them to rely on the revelation of Baha'u'llah. So then the experiences would also be happy to hear of your experiences of collaboration, of how the Institute has broadened its base as a consequence of all this. It will be good to hear practical examples that illustrate the impact of some of these partnerships. I will not say any more. I will give the floor back to you. And like we have done before, it will be important for you to raise up your hand so my brother here can take note of your name. Okay, as you're raising your hands, if the teaching center members have anything to add, the development organization? No. We see hands. I know some of us have said they've raised their hands so many times and they have not been picked. But try again, please. I'll make sure you're picked today. Yeah, if you want, you can stand up. Some of us are so short that the hand is... Okay, we have enough hands to begin, and we'll try. Again, a reminder, yesterday we were told the minutes are reducing to 3. So try your best. Please, please, I'll not be shy to stop you. My colleagues are very shy at stopping you, but I will just stop you. So let's not embarrass each other. So please stop before I have to stop you. Is that okay? Yes. So we have Camela from Ethiopia. Abraham from Central West. Where are we? The microphones. Camela, where are you? Okay, right here. Abraham, where are you? Oh, you're next to each other. This is the way to do it. If you sit next to each other, you'll be seen more. Leonida, where are you? Okay, Leonida, less than 5 minutes. Brian, Omega. Okay, Brian. All these people here will deal with you. So we'll start with those. Where are the microphones? Can you make sure that Leonida has a microphone?
Aloha. So I would like to dedicate my sharing about the youth in the most advanced cluster of Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, and how they have taken charge the advancement of the institute process. So during the beginning of the plan, the youth who were conducting activities or acting as protagonists or at the forefront were around 20, mainly coming from 2 neighborhoods. So the institutions wanted to learn how more youth can be engaged in the institute process, become human resources and protagonists of the plan. So one work that was done, or one effort, was to raise the consciousness of the youth about their role in contributing to the advancement of the community building process. So to do so, youth gatherings were mainly utilized, organizing them at cluster level once a cycle, and exploring themes such as twofold moral purpose, coherence, and their responsibility to educate their youngers, and so on. And these conversations were also trying to align with the aspirations of the youth. And also institute campaigns were utilized, especially during holidays and school breaks. And this gave the opportunity for the youth to progress from book 1 to book 2 to book 3 and 5, for them to be raised as animators and teachers, and also some of them to be raised as tutors of book 3 and book 5. So these 2 spaces were vibrant, and they had profound impact on the youth, which mainly manifested with the raise in the eagerness of the youth to extend the conversation, to invite more youth to the process. And we might ask, oh, what changed in these spaces to have this impact? So one thing that we identified is that during these spaces, the youth were not seen as participants, but they were seen as protagonists even from the beginning. So they were given responsibilities, and they were given the opportunity to plan during the spaces so that they can extend the conversation or invite their youth when they go back home. They were assisted to become teachers and animators, even if they haven't necessarily taken book 3 or book 5, but then systematically accompanying them to do so through time. And this was very impactful. So more youth started to come to the process. And another thing is giving them responsibility didn't stop in institute campaigns only. For instance, the youth movement itself was mainly followed by the ATC during the beginning of the plan. But then the ATC decided that it can't do all of the follow-up on its own. So they raised, mobilized youth for them to become as collaborators. And at first, maybe giving them responsibility that are related to logistics, but through time, involving them in the planning, in the reading reality, in the implementation. And now around 20 youth are the ones who are taking over the youth movement itself and following it up. And this involvement of the youth didn't stop at cluster level. It also was present at neighborhood level. In the beginning, only two neighborhoods were the ones where the youth were at the forefront of the conducting activities and supporting. But now 7 more neighborhoods have this reality, and the youth are the ones at the forefront, acting as core teams, supporting others, and conducting activities and supporting their youngers. And one also prominent feature of the 4-year plan was how more youth started serving in institutions in different capacities, at cluster, at regional level, and also they have gained the trust of the community, which was very hard to get during the previous plans. And of course, with the support of the ABMs and the local spiritual assemblies. Maybe one more thing, one new thing that happened in Ethiopia was, the ISGP seminar was held during 2025, which was also very impactful in motivating the youth. So the number of the youth who are engaging in the process grew from 20 to 140, and of course there's a long way to go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Camilla. She's giving me a beautiful smile, trying to bribe me with a smile. Okay, Abraham, you have the microphone.
Yeah, hello, dear friends. So my focus, I will actually share briefly on paragraph 7, the benefits of creating awareness about the educational value of the training institute in Central West region. So this capacity to converse about the purpose and the objective of the training institute is actually a capacity that is being manifested in some of the clusters in Central West region. And through this awareness, so we have seen so many people actually either coming to study the institute courses and also support activities that are associated with the training institute. This has actually been manifested in some of the classes, but I will share some few classes that this capacity is very prominent. Like in one of the sub-region, Kakamega sub-region, there is this cluster called Butere cluster, in which this awareness of the educational value of the training institute, the friends actually went to a school, Bukolwe Comprehensive School, and actually shared about the importance of the training institute. And they actually said the administration agreed, but they said you should actually go to the sub-county educational offices to share the same. So when the friends actually visited the sub-county educational offices, so the sub-county educational officer actually said, this program is so good, so you need to take to all the schools in the sub-county. But the friends, reflecting on the capacity of the training institute in that cluster, it was difficult to really do that. So they actually did it in one of the schools, that is Bukolwe. And since then, over 100 youths from the senior secondary have gone through the books of the main sequence of courses. And in the junior secondary, over 300 junior youths actually are involved in the around 3 junior youth texts. So also in another cluster, that is Matete cluster, collaboration with the local government or local leaders has really shown that the local leaders have really taken the institute as theirs. They actually engage in home visits. They actually engage in mobilizing youth to come to the training institute. And also they have actually mobilized themselves to study. There are 33 village managers in Kiliboti sublocation have really studied the first book of the main sequence, and also they have planned to continue to study other books of the main sequence. And they have also formalized their collaboration with the local speech assembly of Mukalanya, so in which they actually reflect together on the progress of the community and how to engage as more people to the training institute. So I know yesterday friends shared about this awareness in Tricky West cluster, engaging the teachers of JSS in Banja block. And we are happy to learn from that cluster how the program, especially the Junior Speech Empowerment Program, has gone. It is now expanding in 2 schools. That is Madea and Kemarani comprehensive schools. And it's very, it is very fortunate we have the principal here of Kemarani. So Mr. Shogi Malongo, who has really championed the program in that school. So we'll clap for him later. So in Matunda, so it's also
Abraham.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You even want to invite the principal
No.
to talk. We will give you another opportunity if there is another opportunity later.
Thank you so much.
But thank you so much. Okay, where is Leonida? You have a microphone? Yes. Okay, after Leonida, we'll have Brian.
But dear friends, so I will try to be short. So basically when the 30th December message 2021 about enhancing the educational experience through the quality of the program, then one thing that the institute did was had a shift actually in the way the processes or the activities were being carried out. And one of the processes that came up was really to have a reflection with a key children class teachers, animators, and tutors. Of course, in the selected village of Namarambi, this is one of the processes that began. We identified around 10 teachers who had already gone through the different grades of the children classes. And the idea was really to be able to see how the classes that were existing can be carried out with the degree of regularity. And in this process, then of course, through the reflection space, drawing from the grade one of the sections around coming up with the children's class teacher notebook, reflection notebook, so that then the teachers could be able to systematize the classes. And I've reduced those chances that maybe a community has a class in grade one and like it takes several years to conclude. So with this, then the teachers now learned on how to be able to at least have a class every weekend to ensure that after a year, then of course those classes are transitioning. And that one enabled the community to come up with the calendar, a clear calendar where they would be able to follow up with the children classes. But then another thing was the issue of having educational venues that within the groups of families, 3 of them formed a singular venue where all these children could come together, and the teachers could come also help them in those venues. And like within the same, of course, local leaders, because the venue where these activities happens to be along the road, so mostly people pass around there. So when some of these community members, the parents pass around and they don't see their children participating, they were encouraged also to be able to see how this can be done. And through the home visits, just to ensure that then the parents understand the program. Then of course the teachers organize the visits to these parents, so that to explain to them the purpose of the program and how it's being run. But also the area of memorization of prayers and holy writings, because like the teachers kept on encouraging the children so that then it doesn't end in the class, but when they go back home, they should also try to be able to assist their siblings and also their parents to be able to extend what they are learning in the class. And you see, family devotions like are beginning through the efforts of these children who are participating in the classes. But during that conference opening the 9-year plan, Mama Rachel had mentioned about these 3-year-olds and like the path that these children need to take. So in that 2022, of course, the team also tried to be able to analyze, to categorize the population within the village, and they were able to get around 23 3-year-olds. And at that point, of course, we did not have the program for PSA. But then in 2023, when the team, a few friends, 3 of them from Namarambi village, joined the PSA program, and they studied the book, Nurturing Young Minds. Then, of course, now these are 3 years. At that point, they were 4 years, so they were engaged in this study of the Nurturing Young Minds. And recently, this team of 23 children transited to beginning grade 1. And what has happened so far, because in 2023 they began doing book 1, and of course grade 1, then later they graduated and they are currently doing the branch course 1 with the same teacher, and like those learnings are consistently being followed. And of course with the branch course 2, of course the same teachers have already done branch course 2, and of course the same reflection notebooks is being used just to be able to generate these experiences and advance the same. And in that process, then of course much is being learned around the implementation of the calendar. Of course, the members of the community currently know that every after April, of course, there is that transition ceremony, and like all of the parents are being invited to participate, and the local leaders partaking in this space. And of course, in the same process, of course, we have local leaders who are also connected to this. And like when they were passing along these educational venues, then like after having learned, and like now this, the venue actually where the activities are happening is a home of the local leader. And this local leader meets with the assistant chief every end of the month. So when this local leader was sharing about the experience of how the programs are happening within his home, then other local leaders were encouraged, motivated, and like during the last holiday, and then like they encouraged their youth also to come and participate in this process.
Thank you
so much.
Leonida, before you start another story. Thank you so much. That is very beautiful. I'm just thinking as counselors, maybe we need to have a seminar for the spiritual education of children. It's been long overdue. There's a lot of insights. And when you see Leonida, you see the spiritual education of children in motion. So our next speaker will be Brian. Brian, I hope you have a microphone. And after Brian, we will go to Dennis from Eastern Uganda, Abed Haman from Western Tanzania, and then Hamed Otiende from Northeast. So prepare. If you raise your hands so the microphones can already move to where you are. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Laupa, dear friends. So I will center my sharing on paragraph 6, where they say in places where the capacity to systematically raise human resources has been built within a center of intense activity, the Institute devotes more serious thought to the systematic and effective delivery of the programs it offers for childhood and adulthood. And I will share about one of the places that is experiencing large-scale growth, that is Kimangeti village in Malava. So, of course, at the level of the collaborative group, when we were doing analysis, we realized a situation that Councillor Nancy was sharing, that, of course, many of the classes were in grade 1, and also many of the junior youth groups were in breezes of confirmation. So, Of course, together the Training Institute and the Learning Side began to think how can we assist the friends to advance through the text, especially in these centers of intense activity. And we realized that the challenge why friends are not advancing is because the animators do not have the confidence to facilitate this text. So the learning side together with the training institute set out to learn on how they can assist the animators to advance in the text, in the delivery of the text. So we identified a few centers to learn from, and Kimangeti was one of them. So in Kimangeti, we identified 5 animators who had groups that were meeting regularly and set out to learn with them. So the coordinators, of course, Malava is connected to the learning site. So the coordinators will go to the learning site where the seminars were being held more regularly and centered more on the study of the reviewing the text of the junior youth. And when they come back, they will organize to study with these 5 animators, of course, with others also, these texts, and then they systematically help these animators to see how they can meet regularly with their groups and advance in this junior youth text. And of course, these animators were helped to see a vision where they can be able to assist the juniors to study all the available texts. So they had a goal to assist all the juniors to study the available texts, and then they began to think like, what is the considerable pace that this will happen? So then they, from their own analysis, they realized that maybe one text could be completed in one cycle. And therefore, every cycle, they had a space to review at least a junior's text so that they can advance through the other text. And where maybe this capacity to facilitate a given text was not in the coordinator, the learning site resource person will come and review with these animators this text. And because these groups will meet every weekends to study, but sometimes they will not be able to move at a very faster rate. So then these weekly studies were complemented with camps during school holidays, and camps became a habit in this community that every school holiday, the junior youth will come for a camp, and that helped them to also advance faster in the text, because in some of the camps, they will even study 2 texts, complete 2 texts in a single camp. And through these efforts, we've seen Kimangeti developing the capacity to offer all the available junior text. And we've seen 3 cohorts of junior youth who have been able to complete all the available text. The first group was of 32 junior youth completed 12 texts that were available then. The second one completed 13, and the most recent one was able to complete the 14 texts. And this capacity in the region we are seeing in 7 villages that now have the capacity to offer the entire text of the junior youth program. And recently, when we had a reflection with the members of the development organization, we are able to identify 31 more villages. We were able to identify other villages, totaling to 31 villages, where we want to extend this capacity. And to do this, then these villages have been connected to the 7 villages that already have this capacity. And we are in the process identifying animators from these additional villages to settle in the 7 villages for a period of 6 months, just to interact with the process and the animators in these villages, and in that way develop, and in that efforts we hope to raise this capacity in the 31 villages. Thank you.
Brian, thank you so much for keeping time, but also the insights that Brian has shared. I hope you seek him out just to hear a little bit more in regards to the capacity that they have been able to raise in these centers of intense activity, villages, you call them. These 3 villages, was it 7? 7 villages to enable the junior youth to complete all the texts of the junior youth program and then advance to the next level. I think we are beginning to see a new kind of people emerging, as it's mentioned. So now, thank you, Brian. So now we'll go to Dennis.
Going to draw my insights on the sixth paragraph, on that part which is talking about raising the capacity to raise human resources to carry on specific acts of service. And I'll also be drawing my experience from Mora class and the Eastern region. One particular element which has been given attention is to ensure that raising of tutors is a key area, because if you look at the process of raising human resources, then the role of the tutor is at the center of all this process. And not only raising tutors, but also raising tutors who are able to cater for the different segments of the population to ensure that each and every individual in the community is given an opportunity to interact with the books of the main sequence. And so along that line, then we have tutors who are assisting with the youth. And of course, these ones, majority of them are fellow youth who are almost sharing the same aspirations. Then also we have tutors who are dealing with young mothers. These ones have various realities, looking at the ages, and also some you have to go into looking at the details, maybe the family life. Some should be married because the conversation is centered to other aspects of the community life. And so we find that sometimes the youth, they find it very hard to tutor this kind of the population. So you have to look for certain tutors who have some kind of experience to assist with other dimensions of the life of the families. Then also we have tutors who are assisting with the schools, because also as a training institute, we are learning to collaborate with schools. And for you to engage with raising teachers, maybe in a primary school, then also we are drawing on the experience that we need to identify these teachers who are qualified as teachers, so that they are able to engage these teachers at the level of profession. So we have also been paying attention to ensure that we identify those kind of individuals, and we assign them to assist a specific number of teachers who are shouldering the activities of the training institute. And this is the process we started 2 years ago in the two high schools in Ingora and in Palisa cluster. And we are seeing that it is also assisting us to see that we sustain the educational programs in the schools. The other element has been also to look at the rhythm of how the people are entering the training institute. Because we looked at the trends, and after our analysis, we realized that we have few individuals who are entering the training institute. And so as a next step, then we looked at in each cycle, how do we assist clusters to ensure that a sizable number of individuals enter the training institute. And this has been a trend which the training institute is strengthening to ensure that each cycle, each 3 months, we are having an intake into the institute. And not only having that intake, but also putting a system to ensure that they progress to other materials. And so that has also assisted us, like one shortage we have been having is like at the level of the bodies, we have a tracking tool which assists for each cluster. All the movement of the human resources are entered in that tracking tool. And so the board is able to follow people who entered in quarter one, how far have they progressed in the start of the books of the main sequence. And of course, we know that not all may progress at the same rate, like maybe 20 started book one, but as they progress book two, maybe 15 were able to do book two and 5 remained. So we are able to also look for those 5 who were not given opportunity to progress to book 2 to see how they can be integrated in the other trainings of book 2s which are upcoming, and so that it assists also those individuals to progress. The other element has also been conversations with the youth. We have some of these, all the human resources are youth, and most of them are studying the same secondary schools. So one conversation we have been having with them, even when they are having their activities, is to ensure that when they are at school, these ongoing conversations between the youth, and of course that capacity is given to us from book 2. And so that also has been an aspect we have been strengthening among the youth, that as we are at school, also we are engaging other friends, our friends, to see that how do we help them to come and also participate in the study of the books of the main sequence. And also that strategy has helped us, like in every school holiday, we have youth gatherings for these youth in the different centers of intense activity. and we are quickly channel them into the study of the books of the main sequence. But also, as one observation also we made, that we looked at the books of the main sequence, like there are certain capacities we also needed to raise in some of these human resources which we have. And we looked at other educational materials which can give us that kind of support. And of course, the other learning process, we have also been trying to see that how do we integrate the study of the books of the main sequence and also selected PSA texts which are able to raise certain capacities among the human resources to be able to advance conversations on the three broad areas of endeavor which the beloved Universal House of Justice is telling us to pursue.
Dennis, I know you're looking the other way, so you don't see contact with me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So that was about raising tutors and integrating the PSA materials into the study of the Institute materials. Okay, thank you, Dennis. We'll take Abed Hamed, and we'll bring Mohammed Kigodi from Eastern Tanzania, Lydia from Central Uganda, Victor Jidai. Can you raise your hand so they pass the microphones to you? Okay. Abed, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Abed,
Yes.
I wish you could, I know you're at the back, but yes, where I can see you, so you can see me when I'm telling you to stop.
Yes, yes. Thank you, thank you. So I'm going to share an experience on the area where the approach of raising the awareness of the value of education among the parents, education stakeholders, and others. Then my experience will going on the one of the average, which are area of intensive of from the teacher cluster, from the Ramble cluster, which are teacher village. And during the time when we started the 9-year plans, the village, one of the area where they were discussing to increase their awareness is how they can be able to increase mass participation in the education processes. That's give them a chance to start to think how they will be increased in the awareness to the village readers, among the parents and others who are among those who are a member of ensuring that participation or education process are being developed within the clusters. That give a chance to ensure the education process is certain in the village, where has been cross collaboration among the community and the local institution, including the government and the village leaders, the local spiritual assemblies, primary schools leaders with collaboration with the health centers and with this community, started to think how they can become together and thinking and this kind of deeper to include the awareness among the villagers and include in supporting the growth of the awareness regarding the value of institutional education. One of the ongoing efforts include the holding community meeting to discuss the progress of education initiative arising from the training institution, also to observe the impact of the community. The meetings held support the individual community and the institution government has been provided the opportunity for the collective consultation for the formalization of and the recommendation that strengthening of the education process within the villages. There is also a regular reflection involving the parents of the children and the junior youth on the value of education being offered, and the collective discussion of the contribution of the parents to the government of their children and the junior youth. The animators play a role in ensuring that the junior youth speech empowerment programs continue to be offered in schools by ensuring that an increased number of participation in schools where the program is implemented. Meaningful, the conversation arising with the ongoing consultation within the family groups also contributes and the focusing on the strengthening the education process and the support provided to ensure that spiritual education is reinforced within the families. In addition, the engagement of the villagers collaborative group play a key role within its core discussion centers on developing a shared understanding of the development steps required to ensure the progress in all processes. This identifies the best way to sustain the progress across all educational programs and recognizing the challenge that community members can help to address. The result of collaboration led to the advancement of the oral education program and encourage mass participation in all endeavors within the villages. Through that participations and what was being seen within the teacher village, give an learnings where the clusters started to ensure that endeavors or that process which has been started to happen in TTs to be happening in others area of intensive activities for the other two group of identity cluster, which is Larambe and Nyenge. And also one of the community gatherings which had to be held within the teachers, they were able to invite others from the other cluster to come to learn and how to ensure that there is mass participation within the all education activities which has been happening in the village, and that's we bring and witness to on various development of the education activities to other classes. Like nowadays we are witnessing mass participation in various education activities in Lalambe, in Kilanto clusters, Kiziba, and even in Nyagusus. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aben, for your insights. I will go to Hamed. After Hamed, we'll have Mohammed. This is Modi. Modi, where? And then Lydia and Victor Jedai. Thank you.
Hello, dear friends. My name is Hamed Mgosi, as mentioned. I'll share some few reflections from Northeast region. And basically, we're experiencing a significant advance in the work of the Training Institute in the region. And among the collaborative arrangements that are helping us towards this is we have those teams that are specifically the special teams that are concerned with each of the programs. And at the heart of their work, then they have objects of learning that are being generated from those clusters that have advanced. That is the third milestone clusters. My focus will be on Kiamba cluster as one of the clusters. At the start of the plan, there were a few elements, I think you were looking at them yesterday, that were so pressing. Characteristics that define a third milestone cluster were not evident. Some of them were not evident in this cluster. And among them was the question of human resources. But then one question that the coordinators asked themselves during the weekly coordinators meeting was on this question to raise defenders of the institute at the grassroots. Because the strikers, who are the coordinators, were basically the ones conducting most of the activities compared to the resources who are basically supporting the institute process. So with this in place, then another aspect was to also think about how the study circles, the children classes and the junior youth, they're not looked at in its entirety, but then looking at each individual participant and their capacities as well as their passions. So that capacity can be developed over the years as they advance towards the main sequence of courses. But then away from this, then the other aspect was to also look at raising capacity of those who are serving as tutors, animators, and teachers. And among the capacity that were fostered in these individuals was raising tutors of specific books of the main sequence, with more emphasis on books 1, which is the entry into the main sequence, on book 3, as well as book 5 and book 7 itself. So the focus was on this so that the content of these materials are delivered effectively. The other one was on assisting animators to study the junior text alongside the branch courses so that their capacity to deliver the content of the junior program then could be enhanced. And also the pressing focus was on the reflection spaces. But then there is one experience that we've had at the grassroots where a junior youth group actually we were asking ourselves, why is the Training Institute giving more emphasis on memorization as an aspect of the entire system of education that cuts across all the programs, both the main sequence, the children class, and the junior youth. And as during our deliberations, we did realize then this is actually to improve the effectiveness of these friends as they offer their service to the community, that they are informed by these teachings. And there is this one group in Kiamba cluster that has been able to study all the available 15 junior texts. And in the last camp, they studied their last text that is making sense of data. And this group has been much concerned about different aspects of the community, including participating in a few of the discourses, both formally and informally. And on the informal arrangement or informal, participating informally in discussions or in conversations, then they looked into the question of arts based on memorization that led them into arts. So with all the available junior texts, they have memorized all the quotations in these materials, and they are developing songs in regards to this, and they have released actually a number of them, including the recent text making sense of data. They already have a copy from that. And then lastly, I'll just touch on one thing that is on schools. I think the Regional Institute Board in the Northeast region has been very instrumental in helping the cluster basically to heighten its capacity to work with schools, because it's an experience that has been witnessed in Kiamba for quite some time. And there is a school in Kiamba, that is a Simoga school, which the program has been there for close to 7 years. So we've been reflecting on how the program could advance to other more schools. And the Regional Institute Board, in consultation with the regional coordinators, then there is a team of individuals who are appointed just to specifically work with schools. And these friends are at the heart of thinking about how the programs are advancing in the schools. With a new school that I think in the last 2 cycles, there is a school that adopted the Junior Speech Empowerment Program, and with around 70 participants. So maybe lastly, just touching on the operation of this team. One of its aspect is actually to identify the nature of conversations that are being initiated with different populations within a school setup. And among the conversation is with the school, within a school, then we have the teachers, we have the management, we have the students, and to some extent we also have parents who tend to come for those annual general meetings. So basically they are able to see what kind of conversation, or the nature of conversations at each stage with all these particular individuals. And then the other one is to basically look at the systematic movement of participants through the programs, and then also enabling enabling the resources, or making sure that resources are available to attend to the school. Thank you.
Hamid, I don't know how many lastlies you have, but Moody, don't try that trick anymore. Lastly, better be lastly. So Moody, we'll take Moody, and then Lydia and Victor. I hope you have microphones already. If you don't have, raise your hand so they can give you a microphone. Okay.
Hello, dear friends. So I would also like to share from, so the focus of my sharing will be on how our institute has been helping in building capacity for human resource, and also how effective and systematically deliver the program. So since the beginning of the 9-year plan, a central question for our institute has been how deliberately raise up a human resource capable for performing specific act of service while systematically and effectively deliver the program. In exploring these questions, so as the Institute Board then identified several priorities that were to strengthening. And one of them was how the function of the structure and the capacity that it has. And then another area was, and this we looked at all level, from the level of the grassroots to the level of the Institute Board. And then the second was how to creating the learning spaces so that to sharpen our understanding of the needs of the region and the delivery of the program. And the last was the collaboration among all the regional agencies and institutions. So these priorities that we identify was so significantly in strengthening our institute over the last 4 years that allows to build the following capacities. So one capacity is that through this we were able to build is the capacity to facilitate. For example, for now, our region has the capacity to facilitate all 15 junior youth texts that we build over these 4 years. And also the branch course. We were able to introduce the branch course 1 and 2 of the book 5. And also within these 4 years, we were able to move from grade 1 to 2 to up to grade 5 in our region. But also we increased the intake of RUI 1. So before this last 4 years, our annual intake was 100 to 3. But now, these 4 years, we have been able to sustain over 500 intake in the RUI 1. But also another capacity that we built is strategy focus. So we maintain a consistent focus on plan implementation and foster a unit of vision between the two movements in our region. So of course, not just identify these areas, 3 areas that contribute to what I've just shared. There are a number of things that as the Institute, we try to implement in these 4 years. So one area was the Cluster Institute Seminar. So to build the capacity, we had to transform the quarterly reflection spaces for Cluster Institute Coordinator into a seminar. Beyond reviewing accomplishment, this seminar now includes the study of the new books in the main sequence and deep dives into specific imperatives. Planned annually, this seminar have been helping over 60 friends every cycle to complete various junior textbook 5 branch courses, higher books of the main sequence alongside the study from the study of message from the House of Justice and conducting a field visit while we're having this seminar. This coordinator, then when they return to their respective cluster, they try to replicate the same thing that we have been doing in the seminar. So if there were a study of book 5 branch course or any messages, then when they go back to their cluster, they do the same. And this they normally have a plan before that. Another area that we also helped to that achievement, it was the function of the regional coordinator. So the Institute Board, through the secretary, initiated the monthly meeting with the regional coordinator to track progress against cycle and annual goal. This meeting serves as a measure of growth and space for capacity building. We examine each imperative across sub-regions and consult, because our regional coordinator has been divided into sub-regions. Yeah. So to address specific need, we also incorporated the study of the Baha'i literature. For example, currently, with the regional coordinator, we have initiated the study of Kitabu-i-Khan. Together, before starting the planning session with the regional coordinator, we do some paragraphs of the Kitabu-i-Khan. And the same thing now has been replicated at the level of 5 clusters. So the regional coordinator also do the same
with the cluster coordinator in 5 clusters. So like they meet after 2 weeks online, studying together, reflecting on the implementation of the plan and so forth. And lastly, on the operation team and collaborative group. This is the last thing. A collaborative group comprised of the regional institute coordinator, growth facilitator, cluster coordinator for Pioneer, secretaries of the institute board and the RBC, auxiliary board member, and various educational and teaching teams. Meet for 2 to 3 days to build vision and ensure unified action. This collaboration supports both the institute and the movement of the cluster. Consequently, we have grown from 14 people to 41 clusters. So when we are beginning the plan, we had only 14 clusters, but now we have 41 clusters. In the last 2 years, the percentage of completion of book 1, as I mentioned, through the so the completion of the book 1 in the before these 4 years, we were most of the people who were completing the book 1 were through the intensive study. But
Modi,
for now, yes?
I'm really sorry, but that's 2 extra minutes I gave you. I love you, but no.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we shall take Lydia and then Victor. And after Victor, if we can have Aristotle from Eastern, Sharon from East, and then Mona Nyongesa from Central West.
Alaba friends. So I'll try to be brief. From Central Uganda, I'm focusing on a Rekshuji village from Chazan cluster, whereby it is sustaining the sizable number of children in classes. And out of the 381 children in this village, 219 are in children's classes. Then we are looking at the area of offering grades, different grades in this village, grade 1, 2, then the 2 branch courses we currently having. And in this we have classes in grade 1, grade 2, and also branch course 1, then 1 class in branch course 2. So we are assisting children to progress beyond speech education of children. And in this area, we have teams of teachers where they are assisting children in literacy, how to write and also how to read, but also in other areas of their education where they have weakness. For example, in mathematics, those are lacking how to add. Then in this way, again, we have the element of raising a pool of teachers in this village, whereby it is assisting us to systematize the expansion of teachers, supporting the program, being strengthened in a way of raising the capacity of young mothers, but also the youth in that village. We look at this, assisting these teachers in their local languages they are familiar with, to be able to deliver the content to the children in the language they are familiar. Then in that very area, we are looking at the element of integrating eligible children, 5 to 11 years, in 2 age-based categories, whereby it is assisting the children to learn systematically. For example, if we have children of 4 to 5 years in classes, they are able to learn when they are in their categorized class. But if they are mixed with 9 to 11 years, it's somehow challenging for the children to progress systematically. So we categorize them in that way, but also having these teachers of assisting these children in their age-based categories. And then working with teams of teachers, whereby we have teachers which are very strong in different elements. And when a teacher reaches a certain element, let's say storytelling, and this teacher is not able to offer that element clearly, then the other teacher has to come and offer that element in the class. So to see that the program is moving systematically, but also helping the children to grasp the content. Then looking at raising the tutors who can offer the content of various grades in this village. We currently have 5 tutors who can properly deliver the content as they are raising the capacity of teachers in this village. And these teachers are able to offer grade 1, grade 2, then the branch courses that are recently delivered to us. Then we have these spaces that are assisting us to raise the consciousness of our parents in this village. Having the parents meeting for them to recognize their role as parents. Because we realized that as we are reading the reality of the village, in a home finding 5 children or 6, being it a challenge for us living parents who are staying with these children. So we are assisting these very parents to offer the content to their children at their home. And also, this results to regular meetings with parents and having the reflection spaces, but also the festivals that are assisting us to become more practical, engaged in the process, but also as the active agents of the community. So with these spaces, we are seeing during festivals, children progressing, and just recently it became clear that children can finish a grade before even ending the year if we systematize this process of having the festivals in the village. So it was really appreciative to the teachers to have the festivals every cycle for the children to progress.
Lydia, you were gonna be brief.
No, sorry, just one element of utilizing the teachers' notebooks, whereby it is assisting the teachers to track the progress of each child through different elements, but also systematizing the effective visits to the parents of the children within the village. Thank you.
Thank you. Definitely your context of brief is not mine. But thank you, Lydia. It would be good to hear a little bit more about the festivals also. And because she brought up the role of the festivals in helping the children to be able to progress faster. We are very familiar with the weekly, but this would also be good at some point if there is someone who can talk about that. But we'll take Victor now. And after Victor, Aristotle. Aristotle, where are you? And then Sharon. Sharon is where are you? Okay. And then Mona. Mona, where are you? At the back. Okay. If you make sure, raise your hand so you have a microphone. Thank you.
I wanted to share about the Institute devoting more serious thoughts to systematic and effective delivery of the program it offers from childhood to adulthood. And this relates to the experience of Givogi village, and particularly arrangements that are emerging at the village level that ensures that a growing number of younger generations are progressing through the entirety of the educational content. So one aspect of this experience is a learning process that emerged in this village around organizing the activities and beginning to utilize the idea of learning centers. So a center for learning basically emerged from where the activities started, like a children's class, and then later on we have a junior youth group, and then later on we have study circles emerging, and we're beginning to see these centers even offering the PSA program. So the entirety of Givogi has actually begun to establish 12 centers for learning that offers different content. And some of the centers are offering the entire content for children's classes and junior youth, and others are offering some of the content. And the idea is to see how to build capacity to offer the entire content. And the children who come to a particular center are basically from one or two groups of families which are nearby and supported by human resources in this center. So one experience that has begun to come, or one insight, is the idea of having an individual in that center who has experience, maybe supporting a group and maybe completing with a group, maybe for 3 years, or the children's classes, assisting a class for all the 6 years, and then coming back and forming the activities. So in a center, then, this individual is very key. Abraham was talking about a principal. In a center, this person is like a principal in that center, but of course, in different contexts. So in some of the centers, for example, at the Baha'i Center, one of the centers is at the Baha'i Center in Givogi. So this individual, as she is having her junior youth group, she's also supporting the junior youth who have graduated from the youth who have graduated from the program to advance through the sequence of courses systematically, and connects them to the activities that are happening within the same center for learning. And this way, we began to see that other than thinking about multiplying the human resources and assisting them to initiate activities immediately the junior youth have graduated from the program, we are beginning to see that they can be raised systematically and they can advance sequentially through the sequence of courses. But in addition to the institute, the main sequence of courses, they are also assisted, they are connected to the programs, the PSA program, and they are offered some of the units of PSA. For example, in the center in Givogi, at the Baha'i Center, from the analysis, we've been able to identify junior youth, for example, in the entirety of Givogi as a village. Since the beginning of the plan, over 120, 150 youth have graduated from the program. And most of them have also been assisted to go through the sequence of courses. And some of them have gone up to Ruhi 5, and others have advanced even further. And but in addition to that, so every school holiday, within the Center for Learning, there is a program, like an annual program of how these youth are advancing through the sequence of courses, studying the units that are offered by the PSA program, as well as being connected to other activities within the community. So, and this idea of having a program for the year has also made it clear that within the village, now we are beginning to see an educational team that is emerging, that is not just connected to one educational program, but it's actually thinking about complementary, coherent education experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You were becoming more and more bold after being encouraged to speak more. Thank you so much, Victor. And I think the centers of learning is a very key one for all of us. Those of us who have not started about that, it would be good to have conversations with the friends that have that experience. We'll take Aristotle, Sharon, and Mona.
Hello, friends. My description here will be on how we have been working with youth and young mothers through the institute process. Since the launch of the 9-year plan, Dar es Salaam cluster has made deliberate efforts to strengthen patterns of action and increase the participation of youth and young mothers in community building through the institute process. So here we'll focus on Zasa neighborhood, which is the most advanced neighborhood in Dar es Salaam, working with youth through the institute process. The core strategic team, which is advancing growth, has continued to learn about various aspects of the reality that shapes the life of youth. These aspects include the environment in which many youth are found, the challenges they face, their aspiration, and the nature of conversation that attract them to join the institute process. Outreach and invitation strategies. The strategic team has been reaching out to youth in various settings. Many male youth are often found on football grounds, while female youth are more frequently found in their homes. Campaigns have been organized every cycle, especially during the 2 weeks preceding school holidays. Other efforts contributing to reaching youth, including establishment of social activities such as football team and art group. Youth conferences are held at the beginning of school holidays, followed by intensive campaigns for the study of the institute courses. Through these sessions, youth have learned concepts such as the twofold purpose, which strengthen their enthusiasm for service, for serving their community. Factors strengthening youth participation. The neighborhood has learned to organize institute training with careful consideration of factors that directly affect youth life. 1. Collective activities. During training periods, youth have participated in collective activities, especially football organized as a league, which has helped sustain participation. Environment. Through understanding built within the community, it is now widely recognized that the Baha'i Center exists for the entire community, overcoming earlier hesitations. Third, timing. Many youth have shown readiness to study for 6 to 7 consecutive hours per day over 12 to 14 days. Careful attention to starting and ending times has been a key factor in strengthening participation. Age and accompaniment. Most youth who actively participate are between the ages of 15 and 23. Experience indicates that those who receive early accompaniment to initiate service activities while training is still ongoing are more likely to sustain their activities. Furthermore, the Junior Youth Spiritual Empowerment Program has served as a reservoir of capacity. Since the beginning of the plan, 71 youth have graduated from the program and 65 have successfully entered the main sequence of the institute courses. Institutional support and their aspirations. Local and regional institutions have supported youth in deepening their understanding of the 3 areas of endeavor. The local assembly has encouraged efforts through material support and the appointment of youth committee. Auxiliary board members have helped youth to reflect on their education development and talent, particularly in arts. The spiritual aspiration of these youth include joining the main sequence of courses and contributing to community development, while material aspiration focus on completing secondary education, joining vocational training, and finding economic activities. Participation of young mothers. Zasa neighborhood has been learning how to work with a growing number of young mothers. While they initially participated mainly in devotion meetings, it became evident that they have capacity to contribute much more. Several factors make them a vital group. They are more readily available than youth. Their daily activities is home-based. They are receptive, and they have a strong desire to contribute to the education of children. The roles of groups of families. The core nucleus team concluded that the most suitable space of young mothers to study institute courses was through groups of families. These social spaces allow families living in close proximity to regularly come together to consult and learn. Collaborative teams of such growth facilitator, and institute coordinators make regular visits to these groups to introduce the purpose of the institute process. Currently, there are 37 groups of families active in the neighborhood, involving 281 participants. From this total, 7 groups with more than 48 participants who are young mothers have already taken part in the study of the institute main sequence courses through study cycles and institute campaigns, learning from young mothers. Working with young mothers through groups of families have yielded...
Aristotle, I know you're not looking up at all, but be winding up.
So here are the learnings. It has enabled broader participation of young mothers, girls, and younger youth in institute courses. It has increased human resources, particularly teachers and mentors and tutors who live in close proximity. It has increased community ownership of the institute process. It has helped some families within the groups to register as Baha'is, and it has provided committed board of human resources who are consistently present over a longer period. This contrasts with youth who often do not remain in one place for long due to personal life circumstances.
Thank you so much, Aristotle.
Thank you too.
Okay. We'll take Sharon. I'm now going to become very strict with time because we want to hear from a few more people. So Sharon, and then Mona.
Hello, dear friends. I'm going to draw my experience from this part that talks about the progression of children from grade to grade. And I'll draw from Ngora cluster, a little bit of history. From the beginning of the 9-year plan, Ngora cluster had a total of about 64 classes across the cluster, and this included grades from 1 to 4, but they did not have clear details, and it appeared to us that some of the classes had stayed for a long period of time, and so their participants had outgrown the program. But since early February of 2024, when we attended the National Statistics Seminar, we realized that for us to use SRP, we had to have clear details of the classes and the grassroots. And that's when we did the cleaning up of the cluster, and in the end we remained with 25 classes, all in grade 1, with 17 teachers. After this activity, we saw that the classes had dropped down, and so there was need for us to take some action so as to get back to where we were in terms of the number of grades that we had in the cluster. And some of the actions or strategies that we undertook include arranging the classes according to age brackets so as to assist the children to learn at their own different paces. Training of teachers through the next grade just before they are done with the current grade so as to prevent the classes from stagnating. Organizing festivals that assist the children to complete the grade that they are in, but also just to help them to progress in their lessons. And this has really assisted the classes from Kalengo, the villages of Kalengo, Okajaka, Kadok, Omo, and Ojogol to progress. And for now, I think these festivals are now being organized in such a way that they happen every quarter, especially during school holidays. Reflection spaces, organizing reflection spaces for teachers at all levels, from the village level up to the cluster level, and at different time intervals. That is at bi-weekly, and then we have at monthly level, quarterly, and then use of centers of learning, especially in centers of intense activity, as these centers of learning help the program in various ways. One of them is bringing the teachers together of, let's say, for example, if we took Kalengo village and we took one group of families, so if we have 2 centers of learning in that one group of family, there are teachers that teach in those different centers of learning, so these teachers can come together and they can do their lesson preparation together. They can actually teach their children together in one day. And then there is also the junior youth spiritual, the centers of learning actually bring the other educational activities also together. And then we have, I talked about lesson preparation in centers of learning, and this really helps the teachers to remain clear-minded about how to deliver the lesson that they're going to teach. And now, currently, we have a total of 54 classes in grade 1, 22 in first branch course, and 10 in second branch course, with a total participation of 900 children and 77 teachers who are assisting in conducting these classes. And then drawing from the message, the part that talks about use of Baha'i-inspired materials, I would love to share from an experience of nurturing young minds classes. So we realized that when we're conducting the children's classes, there are also these children of 3 to 4 years who would come, and even if you want to try and chase them out, like you first go out and then you can wait for your brothers, they would not move. So it happened that in the cluster was hosting the study of PSA materials, and one of them was nurturing young minds, and so the cluster had the privilege of bringing some teachers to study that material, and later on we formed a total of 10 classes for nurturing young minds, 7 in Kalengo, 2 in Kodike, 1 in Pokora, and 1 in Opot. And then there were also 4 additional classes in Omo, but they transitioned into a nursery school. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. I will take Mona, and I'll see if I can squeeze in one more. Mona, where is Mona? Yeah. Mona, make it 4.
Hello, friends. My sharing will be, I will focus on the paragraph 6, on the question of systematization and delivery of institute educational programs within Center for Intense Activity. And with this, I will narrow down to Matunda Soy cluster, but Rwanda community, and how, as Rwanda community, we are learning to systematize the process of an institute at village level. And as a cluster or as a community of Rwanda, the question of systematizing the process has been at the heart of those who are following the teams that are following the distinct programs of the Institute. And with these teams, they were given the responsibility to see how the participants, together with the human resources that are helping, that are following the process within the community, to advance, but at the same time to transit to the next level in a sequential way. Also, the first thing that the team following up the distinct educational programs within the community did was to analyze all the human resources, the activities, and the participants within these activities. So it went beyond just a human resource, but who are the participants, and where are they as they progress along the materials, but what is the next step for these activities, and also what is the next step of advancement of the human resources. I will narrow down to the two the two programs, the child education and the junior youth. So the two teams that were following up the child education and the junior youth were able to analyze their participants together with the human resources following up the educational activities, and they were able to categorize them where they are, those who are in grade 1, grade 2, and till grade 5, but also those who are going through the junior youth material, the years in the program, the texts they have studied, and plan was made for the way forward. So with this team, we could see, we have realized that now, with the effort of reflecting and planning for the next step, we've seen the advancement of the human resources towards the materials that they are offering the participant, but also you've seen the participant moving from one grade or from one text to another as they advance along the materials. But another thing, another responsibility that was given to the teams that are following up the education is how to see the human resources are being raised within the community, but also the ongoing support of building their capacity as they continue to help the young ones within the community. So with this, within the team following up the child education at village level, comprised of 4 individuals, they organize spaces for the teachers, the existing teachers, and those for the junior, the existing animators, and see how they can advance along the branch courses, and also plan for the next step for their classes and the groups. But also in terms of raising human resources, because we know those ones who are helping the children and junior youth are youth, and the mobility of this youth, then the need of continuous generating the human resources then came into mind. So with this team, in each and every cycle, they organize the training for the teachers, the training for the animators, and connecting other villages across the cluster to come and learn together. But immediately after the human resources have gone through book 5 for grade 1, the next step is followed. How to accompany these young, the youth to initiate activities. So from there, it does not end at the level initiating of activities. So for example, the first during the last cycle, there was a cohort that went through the children classes material, that is grade 1 and book 5. And some of them were able to initiate the activities. So currently the team, the 2 teams, are trying to see what is the next step for this cohort to move to the next level.
Mona, these teams are at the cluster level, right?
At village level.
At village level?
Yes.
Okay, very good. But
Yeah.
you should be winding up all the same.
Yeah, so these teams are planning to see now what is the next step. So what it means, it is the arrangement of the branch courses. That is the second branch, the first branch course of book 3, but the initial impulse of the branch course of book 5. But with all this, we have now seen the glimpse of participants transiting from one activity to another as a group.
Okay, Mona, thank you so much. I know you have a lot to share. Thank you. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Friends, I really wanted to take 3 more people, but I can't, unfortunately. Blame your friends who talked for so long. Thank you so much for your insights. We'll hear some comments from dear Sina, and then Mr. Dear Navid.
Aloha, friends. Maybe just 1 or 2 brief comments. So, you know, as the friends were sharing, we were also reflecting on this statement from the House in the 30 December, which was it's 30 December, the beginning of the plan, yeah. We're confusing all the numbers, yeah. At the beginning of the plan, where the House of Justice talks about the training institute being an educational system in a state of constant refinement. You know. So one can think about that at the regional level, but then from what you're sharing, you're also describing that at the village level as well. That the educational system that is present and is evolving at the level of the village, it's constantly evolving, and how each new cohort of children or junior youth or adults who come in are also benefiting from a richer educational experience than the previous ones. So year by year, it's constantly evolving and becoming richer and richer. One element of this, of course, is a development over the last number of years has been, I think, as the friends were sharing, this emergence of these teams of friends within the village who are thinking about the different educational imperatives. So, for example, the friends talking about the teams for children's classes or the teams for junior youth. We know that the emergence of these teams of friends who are, if I take the example of the junior youth program, which I'm more familiar with in this context, we see that these teams have been so central in helping to actually advance learning about being able to sustain junior youth in the program over many years and being able to offer all of the text to these junior youth and help them move into the main sequence. And so we see that the sustainability of the program and just the learning process about the spiritual empowerment of junior youth is closely related to the functioning of this team. Yeah, the level of experience that the friends in the team have, the relationships that they have with each other, how this group of friends has a long-term vision for the learning process, how they consult with one another, how they go back to book 5, how they study the branch courses, how they go through the different texts together. Thank you. How even we're seeing that this team of animators, they don't think also as if they have separate groups. Of course, they have their different responsibilities, and many other youth are also helping them, but they're thinking about all of the junior youth that they're working with. So we're a team of 10, 15 youth who have a list of 50 to 100 junior youth in our village, and we know all of them by name, and as a team we're thinking about all of their advancements. We have their list, how each of them is going through the text. This one is struggling with reading. How can we help this one who's struggling with reading? This one, maybe there's a challenge with the family. How can one of us visit the family and help? This group is struggling because the animator's traveling. How can we make sure that that group continues? We need a camp at this point in time. When can we organize a camp? So just thinking that I think your experience has really shown that the sustainability and the strength of the program is closely related to the mode of functioning and the growing capacities of this group of friends in the village who are thinking about the education of junior youth. Then, of course, when one thinks about the youth, we see that many of the friends who are serving as animators or children's class teachers are, of course, youth themselves. Some of them have themselves moved through these educational processes. But then, of course, at this stage, life starts to become more complex. Yeah, and as the house mentions in the paragraph 6 that we're exploring this morning, it mentions we express the hope that attention would be given to helping young people access educational opportunities, and we've been pleased to see this need being met in a variety of ways, including after-school tutoring and assistance for youth wishing to enter higher education. So we see that there's many concerns that we're learning to accompany the youth. So, for example, one of them is how these youth are themselves engaging in service in the community. How regular is their service in the community, and how is their experience in service growing? How are they developing the different capabilities in the main sequence of courses? How are they studying the main sequence? How are they advancing through? But then also at the same time, how are the questions that they have about their own education and their own future, how is that advancing? How are conversations with them about their own schooling advancing? Many times the youth have questions in their minds. What will my future be like? What does a coherent life of service look like? What does it mean to advance spiritually and intellectually? What educational opportunities are open? What kind of professions will we go into? And so all of these are questions that are there within our youth who are serving. Yeah. So all of these, one sees that there's all of these more complex range of questions that come, and so one question that arises, and I think it's very much in the same spirit of what we've learned with the children and the youth and the junior youth, is we've seen that there are already a group of friends in the village who are accompanying the youth. Yeah, but then how is it that that group of friends is also talking with each other? The PSA tutor, the main sequence tutor, the coordinator of the educational activities, the assistant of the auxiliary board member, that there's one conversation within the community about these youth, about these 20, 30, 40 or 50 youth. The same way that we have the list of junior youth and we have the list of children, also there to be a list of the youth. And actually who's talking about them? This one has a struggle that they're having at home. Who can talk with their parents? These ones are about to enter grade 12 and their questions are becoming more complex. Can we have a space with them? Let's go through some of the youth conference concepts again, explore with them, bring someone who can help them to think about their path. So I think just to mention that this emergence of also a group of friends who are already accompanying the youth and them being in conversation with one another has been one element that I think has been responsible for a lot of this progress that is maybe being mentioned in the paragraph. So I think it was mentioned in some of the comments, but I just wanted to highlight it because it is a reality that's there in many places. But then actually even just as a group thinking about the life of the youth and all of these dimensions of their spiritual growth, I think that is an area that has been very helpful.
So friends, just to add a few other thoughts, I think it's been really wonderful to hear all of your reflections, and it really gives a glimpse, even though you're offering just a few highlights. It illustrates really the depth and the richness of what is happening in all of your clusters, and it really is very inspiring for us to be able to hear all of what you're sharing. And we're looking forward to taking this back with us. Just one thing I wanted to highlight, and it's just building on what Sina was sharing, that it's been, especially in this session, of course throughout, but especially in this session, it's been particularly encouraging to see how much you're talking about the importance of the work with the youth. And so even the first few contributions this morning highlighted that. And so I just wanted to maybe add a few other words in addition to what Sina said. Because of course we're well aware of the role that young people play in the processes of the plan. And this paragraph that we were discussing this morning around the Institute at the heart of a community's progress talks about how a lot of what we're doing with the education of young people relies on the service rendered by a growing cohort of youth. But I was thinking that in what you've been sharing, it reminded me of some statements the House of Justice has made in previous messages. So one in particular is from Rizwan 2023, where the House of Justice talks about how youth have proven themselves bold and discerning protagonists of the plan, where a community has seen them in this light and created conditions for their progress. The youth have more than justified the confidence shown in them. They are teaching the faith to their friends and making service the foundation of more meaningful friendships. Frequently, such service takes the form of educating those younger than themselves, offering them not only moral and spiritual education, but often assistance with their schooling too. Charged with the sacred responsibility to strengthen the institute process, Baha'i youth are fulfilling our cherished hopes. So this statement came to my mind just hearing all of your sharing, and I just wanted to maybe offer a couple of additional perspectives. So one is, you know, of course, we're well aware that in some ways the Institute has been with us now for a generation and more. So we're well aware of, we're familiar with, you know, the three programs, the children's classes, the junior youth groups, the main sequence of courses. And I think particularly in a region like East Africa, we've really learned how to multiply these activities, how to extend, how to spread the reach of the programs. And then what you were sharing today is how also we're learning how to offer more and more content. So these are very important things, and we have to continue to do these things and more. But we also remember that even though the Institute has been with us, you know, now for more than 25 years, we've entered a new series of global plans with a new aim. And of course, that aim is the release of the society-building powers of the faith in ever greater measure. So what that means is we're also learning to see the work of the Institute, these programs, in a more expansive way, and seeing how they contribute to building a better society. And so I wanted to connect that again to the work of the youth, because it's not just about multiplying activities. We have 10 children's classes, let's have 20. But it's this acute awareness that actually education, and of course we remember the statement of the House of Justice quoting from Baha'u'llah in the 30th of December message, and the centrality of education. So if we're building a new society, educational processes are at the heart of building a new society. And we also remember that in the nine-year plan message, the House of Justice talked about the nature of this plan as being generational in scope. So I think it's to appreciate that our investment in young people isn't just to multiply activities, to see them just as children's class teachers, as junior youth group animators, but really an investment in building the kind of a society that we all aspire to have. So what that implies then is, of course, ensuring that they continue to progress through the Institute so that they can be better children's class teachers, so that they can be better junior youth group animators, so that they can move through the higher books in the sequence. But then also, we want to make sure that they continue their education, their formal education. Now, each according to their own possibilities and aspirations, whether it be tertiary in some kind of a form, university or otherwise. But again, because we see in them not just resources that help us multiply our activities, but really these are the individuals that are the foundation of the society we're going to build, and they are also the ones educating the future generations that will be the future foundation of our society. So I think this is something that is a very nice aspect of what you're sharing, and I know you're on that path, but it's just to offer encouragement to continue to think in this way. You know, I want to share with you just one anecdote from a few months ago, last year. We had some gatherings at the World Center, and actually we had participation from friends from East Africa, from some of the advanced clusters in the world. And one of the friends was sharing, it actually was from the Canary Islands in Europe. And just like paragraph 7 talks about our interaction with society and how society sees the value of the Institute's program. So in many places, including in the Canary Islands, they've done a lot to build awareness of the value of the Institute's programs, and the institutions of society really appreciate and value the Institute. And they've also built relationships with the mayor of the city. And so in one meeting with the mayor in the city in Canary Islands, Telde it's called, the mayor was telling the Baha'is, was saying, you know, your resources are truly amazing. I don't know what it is that your institute does to produce such amazing people, but your resources are really amazing. Your resources, he kept saying. But then the friend said, no, these are not our resources. The institute is raising resources for our society. Mayor, these are your resources. You can use them. Please use these resources. So I think it's that kind of a spirit that we see. This isn't just about increasing our numbers, but it's about building a different kind of a society. And I think it's just to appreciate then what you are talking about is precisely that. And that, again, is the central aim of course, this plan and this series of plans. And then the other piece is, of course, when we talk about youth, we're also talking about young mothers. And when you think of educational processes, there's also the education that happens in the home, which is so foundational. So also this is where our investment in helping young mothers to have access to the Training Institute, to even be able to advance a little bit in their education. These are very important investments also in the kind of a society that we want to build. Because then imagine what kind of a child comes from that kind of a household. And then that child participates in the programs of the institutes and receives encouragement to continue their education. You can just think, again, the generational scope of this plan. Your countries, by the way, your countries are among the youngest in the world. And I think our societies will be challenged to provide education to all of these young people. So we have to work with society to help enhance the education that these people are receiving. So I think this was just a few thoughts to reinforce much of what you are learning about and to encourage your efforts in the second phase.
Thank you so much. Thank you.